This is an emergency transmission. Citizens of the world, please, make no mistake. The zombie apocalypse is near. Will you cower and hide, or join us and fight? We are Dezombified, so stay on point and watch your six.
And here we are, better late than never. I apologize for being late tonight, folks. I ended up double booked doing promo for the new book, and kind of had an overlap time there because of a confusion in time zones and me not paying enough attention to my Google Calendar. You put it in there, but you have to remember it. That's the tricky part. And I was getting ready to prep for this show, and I got a message from a guy who was like, "Okay, are you ready?" I'm like, "Ready for what?" And he's like, "We go live in 10 minutes." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But it all worked out. Glad everybody's here. Good to see you. Let me share this out on social media real quick, and then we'll run through the chat. Got a few people here. Again, I apologize. You can blame me for the late start tonight. Okay, put this on Facebook real quick. Just Jim, I'll go ahead and bring you in, and then you can go through the chat.
Yeah, all right.
There's Gemma, the other half of Stemma, my other half, my better half, the Bonnie to my Clyde, the yin to my yang.
I'm not coming in anymore without that introduction. Dezombified, hello. Thank you for having us. Definitely appreciate you. I see Real Evil. I believe this is episode 9, and tonight we are doing Frenemies. Yes, episode 9 already. I see Dezombified. Let me go up a little bit because I'm at the bottom. There we go. Chris Jarvis first.
Hi.
What's up, Cookie? Maraid the Mermaid.
That's an actual recording of Chris Jarvis saying hi.
Maraid the Mermaid. You have to make me laugh. Now I have like visions of this. Maraid the Mermaid, 5th time. How you doing, girl? Dezombified again. What's up? Pam Smith, welcome. Are you? I can't. Pam Smith, how you doing? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not. I think that's everybody for now. Let's get this shared out. I shared it a couple times already, I believe, but let's just do that again. And like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about frenemies. And if you don't know what a frenemy is, it is the combination of the word friend and enemy. And that is, I've had them in my life. I've been one a few times. That's when you have a best friend or someone you're really close with, but really deep down inside, you just can't stand the person. But these people took it to a whole new level. We're going to be talking about Skylar Neese. We're going to be talking about New Jersey's own Sarah Stern, and that is an insane reason that they killed this poor girl, her best friend. And another lesser known one that I haven't heard really anything about, Victoria Averina, also known as Vika, and wait until you guys hear what happened to her. So I'd like to start out with the most known of all of these, and we can talk about Skylar Neese. Steve, if you want to come in and say hello before we do all that.
Hello. How's everybody doing today? Glad you're here. Glad we're here. Glad to be
Carl
anywhere.
snuck in, the Bob's
in this
official.
day and age, of course. Are we there yet, Carl? She's probably still at work. But good to see everybody. Thanks to the usual crowd, and then the new people that we have here. I can't see the chat right now. There we go. Boggs official, Carrie F. Are you kidding me? Maraid, Chris Jarvis. And I'm pretty sure that was a real recording of Chris Jarvis. That's how he sounds in my head. Anyway. No, I'm kidding. I've actually video chatted with Chris before. He's a gentleman and a scholar. Chris is a great guy. Don't know about those trained gerbils he has, though. They're nefarious. But thank you for joining us for, I believe this is episode 9. And the frenemies. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I knew people like that particularly when I was in high school. And is it just my observation, or does it tend to be a more female thing? I notice
Well,
all the ones we have tonight are females. I'm sure it happens
the
with men
victims,
too.
I wanted to look for when it happened with a male too, and I did find a few that happened with males. But the only reason I could find, honestly, 9 out of the 10 maybe that I found where it does happen with males, because it is less often, it was always jealousy over a female. The reasons that we have here tonight are just plain bizarre. And in Sarah Stern's case, her male best friend did this to her. So I did find where a male is the one doing the murdering. So I did think about that too. I thought, wow, this is such a female thing. But like I said, I came across maybe 9, maybe 10, and all of them except I think one were because of some kind of jealousy, and the other one, could have very well been an accident. So I didn't want to bring that in. And we were also going to do the Slenderman stabbings, which we may cover at the end if we have time, but that wasn't an actual murder, and I thought that we should stick with real evil.
Intended murder.
That
But
was intended evil. Dezombified, yes, you are absolutely right.
well, and I've noticed that before. Like, I'd be sitting with a group of girls, and another girl would come over, and they're like, "Oh, hi, how are you? Good to see you." And then the person walks away, and they're like, "Oh, I can't stand that. You know what?" But it was just this fake persona that they put on, and you would have thought they were friends, just the
I
way
think
they
it
were
is more
acting
a
with each
female
other.
thing. Like I said, I've done it. I've definitely done it when I was younger. Now it's like, I'm only human. I do get jealous of other women and men. I have jealousy in me, but being 38 years old, but I remember being in high school, again, because of some of my psychic awareness that I wasn't really even in touch with back then. I didn't have really any friends, but I definitely didn't have female friends because it was so sad. It's like no matter who I attempted to be friends with, I always got that feeling off of them that they secretly didn't like me for some reason.
I've
And
always felt that way too.
even in my adulthood, even now, I always get that feeling, not always anymore, but a lot of the time, that certain people I'm really close to, or even people that I just meet, I just know better than to be friends with them because I can tell like they're not happy for
Yeah.
me. They're not, they're
And
happy when I'm failing. So
I've even felt that way among family. I remember one time going over to my aunt and uncle's with my mom and dad, and I was sitting there and I'm thinking, I don't even think they really like us. They probably wish we wouldn't come and visit. And I was just a kid at the time, but
right.
I don't know where that came from. I mean, they were always accommodating. They would have us over often and
Because
stuff.
you
But
can kind of tell you have that same psychic awareness. The Boggs official says if I don't like someone, I pretty much just ignore that they exist. That's absolutely true. And I've done that pretty much my whole life. But some of us are a lot more mature than others, and other people will go out of their way. So I'd like to get started, if you don't mind, talking about Skylar Neese,
yeah,
brutally
take
murdered
off.
by her best friends.
Open
The
it up.
reason the reason for her wicked slaying, quote, "We just didn't like her anymore," end quote. So Skylar Neese was a 16-year-old girl, and she lived in a sleepy town in West Virginia called Star City. She was the only child. She was often described, though, as spoiled rotten. She was a high achiever academically, and she excelled in pretty much every subject, even the subjects she didn't like. She was just a good student. And again, I'll give the background, and you can talk the murder, Steve, so you're prepared.
I'm all set.
Since toddlerdom or toddlerhood, okay, since being a toddler, Skylar's best friend was a girl named Morgan Lawrence. They were inseparable for pretty much their entire lives, and both families, like the parents too, were really, really close too. So they all did stuff together, went on vacations. The two girls slowly drifted apart. Skylar made new friends. Morgan still insists to this day that they would have always been sisters. Skylar's other best friend, his name was Sheila Eddy. She was also an only child, and the girls met or entered freshman year together. It was around this time in freshman year, and try to follow me, a new girl named Rachel Schoaf joined the school. And Skylar Neese, Sheila Eddy, and Rachel Schoaf, and I could be pronouncing that wrong, but I think it's right, Shoaf, they were referred to as the Three Musketeers. They were basically joined at the hip. I mean, these girls were like blood sisters. They gained a rowdy reputation, though. They snuck out after curfew. They went to grown-up parties. They drank. They did drugs. I think by do drugs, they smoked marijuana. I'm not sure if they did more. I know Skylar didn't, but the other two might have. Their friendship was extensively documented, as it always is with teenage girls and teenagers nowadays, on social media, mostly on Twitter. They were extremely active. So on July 6, 2012, Skylar arrived home from the late shift at her job at Wendy's, and she went to her bedroom. Her parents didn't know this, but it was the last time they'd ever see their daughter. The following afternoon, David Neese, Skylar's father, knocked on her door to lend her the car. She had asked to borrow the car to go to work, and he was giving her the keys. There was no answer, and he noticed the door was locked. She wasn't supposed to be locking her door, but her father was able to pick the lock using a coat hanger. And when he entered the room, he saw that not only was she not there, but her bed was made, so it had never been slept in. He called his wife, but Mary wasn't really nervous. She was just like, okay, so she snuck out to go to a party, or she left early to go shopping with her friends. No big deal. Childhood friend Morgan, the one who's not involved, but who insists she and Skylar would have still been like sisters, she later said in an interview that Skylar had previously snuck out multiple times in the middle of the night. So her parents, or at least her mother, didn't think it was that unlikely she did it again, and they figured they'd have a talk with her later. While having a cigarette in his backyard a little while later, David Neese noticed that Skylar's bedroom window was wide open and there was a small footstool underneath. He concluded that she'd snuck out and was intending on returning home using the footstool as a boost back into her room. Can I tell you guys, I snuck out one time my entire life because I wasn't that kind of kid. Like, I never did anything fun or like dangerous, but one time I was convinced to do it. And I stepped out onto this little balcony outside my bedroom and just jumped like 20 feet to the ground, twisted my ankle, and never gave any thought as to how I was going to get back in. So hours later, when I came home, I just knocked on the door and my mom opened it. I'm like, I know, I'm grounded. And I just walked up the stairs. She's like, yeah, you are. Give me your phone. Like, we didn't have cell phones, but like, I knew I was going to get caught. That's like the kind of kid I was. I had no idea how to be sneaky. But anyway, so he sees that she snuck out and everything. He called his wife to say that he was really kind of concerned because she had been gone for a long time, if she had been gone overnight. But Mary reassured him that she would be home later because she had to work that night. And Skylar was very responsible. She didn't miss work. About 6 hours later, at around 4 p.m., though, the family got a call from Skylar's employer asking if she was due to work that day, asking if she was coming to work that day because she hadn't turned up. She was late, and she never missed a shift, and she was very rarely late. This made her parents start to panic, and this is when they called the police. Steve?
Yeah, the units there, the police units from Star City, and I like the name of that place. I mean, even
I
if
know,
it is
me
West
too.
Virginia, I'm from Star City. It sounds like Hollywood or something, you know. Units from that police department were assigned the case. They searched her bedroom for clues of her whereabouts. Now, the first thing the police noticed was that there was an abundance of personal items that had been left in the room by Skylar, which added to the theory that her parents had that she was planning on returning home. They found her phone charger, her contact lens, her toothbrush. All that was still in her bedroom. And even though she was a teenager, she hadn't even taken a change of clothes with her. So, yeah, that's a hint and a half for your you know what right there when you see that kind of thing. So that means something hinky's going on. Now, around this same time, Sheila Eddy, Skylar's best friend, called the parents. Sobbing, she admitted that Skylar had snuck out with her and Rachel the night before, as they suspected, but she also told the parents that Skylar had demanded to be dropped off at a street corner rather than outside her house, supposedly to keep from waking up her parents. Now, this was supposed to have happened around 11:45 p.m., and neither Sheila nor Rachel had heard from Skylar in the 18 hours since then. Now, this led the parents, who were already panic-stricken, this put them in overdrive, that they initially believed that somebody had kidnapped her. So later that day, Sheila arrived at the Neese household, trying to comfort the parents and provide any clues and help that she could. Now, the police, Sheila and Skylar's family reviewed closed circuit TV footage that they had retrieved from the parking lot behind the house. Now, I don't know why there was a parking lot behind the house unless there's something must be apartments back there,
They
or
lived in an apartment building.
okay. But anyway, they saw it 26 minutes after midnight. A pale three-door car pulled up behind the building, and Skylar was seen running towards it and getting in the back seat before it took off again. Sheila denied it being her car and suggested that the driver may be some sort of secret boyfriend or something, although Skylar wasn't known to have any such thing as far as her best friends or family knew. And with only a grainy picture of the vehicle to go off of, the police were unable to trace it and could only conclude that it belonged to somebody Skylar knew, as she was seen willingly running towards it and just piling into it like, hey, let's go. Now, as a result of this finding, the police refused to issue an Amber Alert for the missing teen. In Star City at that time, these alerts were not used for missing children thought to be runaways or who kids were just out, screwing around. Those were left to their own accord, and it was reserved for people that were truly missing and endangered. Skylar's parents, however, were extremely upset about this, so they were concerned for their daughter's whereabouts, obviously, and felt that the police were not doing enough to try and find the missing teen. Their only source of comfort was Sheila, who spent near enough every day at the Nace household that she was practically one of the family anyway, and she continued to reassure the family that Skylar, she'll be home soon. It's probably just, something happened, and I'm sure she's okay.
Being good friends,
Yeah. And Rachel, the other one of the three musketeers there, was said to be away at a church camp. And Sheila's loneliness and concern for her best friend led her to go into Skylar's room and basically have a breakdown because she missed her friend and, with everything that was going on. But then, flash forward July 11th, local news reported about Skylar. And thanks to her parents, David and Mary, they're trying to attempt and get the word out there. A woman in North Carolina called to say that she saw a girl who looked like Skylar with a red-haired girl. Now, the description of the other girl appeared to match Rachel. So some people started talking that, well, maybe Rachel had skipped camp and came and picked Skylar up, and they both ran away together. And so Mary and David, Skylar's parents, decided, well, we'll just go to North Carolina and look. It's not that far from West Virginia. But sadly, just as they were getting ready to leave, the two girls were identified as runaways from another state that the lady had spotted there. So at this point, David and Mary are just devastated, and they're still convinced that the police aren't doing enough to find their daughter. So they decide to take matters into their own hands and try to make Skylar's story go viral. It's also around this time that Rachel did indeed return home from church camp, so she was interviewed. And they said she was extremely nervous about all this, but denied being at the party with Skylar where she had disappeared when she returned back home. Now, in an attempt to narrow down their search, police insisted Sheila take them on a drive through the route they took the night of Skylar's disappearance. Sheila navigated them through side streets and quiet areas until they eventually arrived right back at Skylar's street. When asked for the same information, however, Rachel told an entirely different story. Starts to thicken here. The plot does. In her version of events, the girl supposedly drove the opposite way and took the main road out of Star City. So now police are putting pressure on Rachel, telling her
putting
that
two and two together
could be checked against the CCTV cameras from the road in question, to which she responded, well, I was really high, so maybe not, meaning maybe that wasn't the way it happened. So now the police, they're not stupid. They're thinking, well, these two girls know more than they're letting on. So they reviewed the security footage again before Skylar's disappearance to see if Sheila's car ever arrived at the property to pick Skylar up. 4 hours of footage only showed Skylar leaving the house once, and that was to run to the unknown vehicle. Now, this led investigators to doubt the story of the girl sneaking out, and then decided to put even more pressure on Rachel. Although Sheila's car was strikingly similar to that in the closed-circuit TV footage, she denied it was hers. So police didn't have enough to be able to charge her with anything. And through the phone records, studying the pings and things, they found that both girls were incredibly active in the town of Blacksville at around 4 a.m. In an interview, Rachel claimed that the three drove to Blacksville to smoke marijuana. At one point, Skylar wanted to go to her friend's house to get more drugs, and Rachel and Sheila agreed to drop her off. Immediately after this interview, the police went straight and interviewed Sheila again. She revealed a similar story, but this time she said that Skylar left on her own to the friend's house and that the two weren't able to find her. The next day, Sheila retracted that statement and said that the two did drop her off at a friend's house. Now, this suggests the police, this changing the stories and covering up and going back and forth, that
these girls were not fans of true crime.
Yeah, Sheila was basically attempting to write a cover story and put it together, but and so far it was working. There still wasn't sufficient evidence so that they could charge her. Now, Flash forward again, 5 months after Skylar's disappearance, still no clue as to what happened. Rachel's mental health suddenly declined. She became violent toward friends and family and was even admitted into psychiatric care due to fears over her behavior and where it was going. She was discharged after 6 days and immediately went to the police. And in that interview, the first words out of her mouth were, "We stabbed her." So, yeah, so Rachel cracked. She couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't handle keeping it in anymore. Now, shocked, the police pushed her to tell the story from the beginning. So Rachel did. She sang like a bird. She recalled filling up Sheila's car with shovels, cleaning supplies, and a change of clothes. They hid knives in their hoodies and called Skylar to say they were on their way to pick her up for a joyride. The three drove out to Greene County, Pennsylvania, which is just a little way over the state line there in West Virginia, and pulled over in a rural area. The girls walked away in the woodland, and on Rachel's count of three, the two girls viciously attacked Skylar. In self-defense, Skylar grabbed one of the knives from Rachel and stabbed her in the ankle, at which point she retreated. Sheila, however, carried on, stabbing Skylar over 50 times as Skylar continued to scream over and over, "Why? Why? Why? Why?" Now, the pair attempted to bury her, but eventually settled for hiding the body under branches and leaves. They walked back to the car just as if nothing happened, changed their clothes, and drove away. You want to take over from there?
I was just going to say, I'll grab it from here. When prompted for a reason for the murder, Rachel simply responded, quote, "We just didn't like her anymore," end quote. Skylar's body was officially found on January 16th, 2013. Though Sheila knew the body had been located, she still attempted to keep up appearances on social media. On the day in question, Sheila uploaded a picture of the three friends, so of her, Rachel, and Skylar, with the caption, quote, "Rest easy, Skylar. You'll always," in capital letters, "be my best friend," end quote. In addition to this, just a month before her eventual arrest in April, Sheila tweeted in anonymous, quote, "We really did go on three," end quote, possibly a sadistic nod towards the couple killing Skylar on the count of three. Motives for the crime remain unknown today, though many speculate that Rachel and Sheila were sexually active with each other and killed Skylar in an attempt to hide this. Entries in her diary and tweets sent out by the teen just days before her death suggested she knew secrets that she was willing to expose about her friends, and as a result, it is thought to be the reason for her death. Sheila pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, however, was found to be guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Rachel's confession and plea of guilty allowed her a reduced sentence of 30 years. The two remain in prison to this day. Rachel is allegedly, quote, "married," end quote, to another prisoner within the women-only facility, which gives credibility to the argument that the two killed Skylar over fears that their relationship would be exposed. Following Skylar's death, David and Mary Neese initiated Skylar's Law, which amended the Amber Alert procedure for missing children, which I think is an absolutely wonderful thing. The modification meant that an Amber Alert is to be sent out for any missing child, regardless of whether or not they appear to have vanished by choice. Can I just say, I have said this over and over and over again. Even if a minor child, or even a teenager is a runaway, I could not stand, and it bothered me and made me sick in my heart when police don't issue Amber Alerts and say things, or investigate and say things like, "Oh, they're a runaway." It doesn't matter. They're not a legal adult. They're not allowed to just run away. You have to go
I
find them.
agree, because they're just as at risk as
they're in no less danger being a runaway. In fact, they may be, I don't want to say more, but just as much, at least, danger as a runaway. They're still a minor child. So this always bothered me. So it says the couple believes that had this modification been in place when Skylar initially disappeared, at least her body may have been found much sooner.
I don't know. I think it took one of them to crack, and Rachel was the one that cracked. But I agree. A kid, even a runaway, especially a runaway, I believe they're even more at risk than a kid that's just out and about doing something, because they're already
it's
showing
runaways and abductees. That's what I was saying. I don't want to say a runaway is at more risk, because if they're abducted, but that's the thing. They're either considered a runaway or an abductee. Both are in immediate danger.
Yeah.
A runaway has a really good chance of becoming an abductee.
Yeah, and there are serial runaways and things, kids that run away all the time and come back. But again, I mean, that's already showing a history of
But to
bad
me, it doesn't
behavior,
matter, you
more
know?
choices. Yeah, I just anybody, and the same. Uh, I think the same type of alert they should do it for people with dementia, or somebody say that's diabetic and could have gone into an insulin coma. Growing up, my best friend's father had some sort of insulin reaction, drove all over Knoxville, didn't know who he was, where he was at, that type of thing. If somebody had known that he was out there and about and didn't know what was going on, if they had issued that type of thing, be on the lookout for a red pickup truck. The guy driving it doesn't know who he is or where he's
Well,
at.
they do those now.
Yeah. But I think it's a good idea for anything and everything that where somebody could help identify or solve a case or save a life. What I mean, technically, what does it cost them to put out those alerts? I mean, I'm sure there's man hours and you have to have somebody to do it and administrate it and stuff, but chances are they're already there. So
just to keep it kind of moving, but I definitely agree with you. And I like that they have the silver alerts. Now, they have all different kinds of alerts. There are a
silver
lot of
alert.
silver
I couldn't
alerts.
think of what it was called. Yeah.
There are a lot of silver alerts in New Jersey. I see them all the time. So
Florida.
Let's move into Sarah Stern.
All
Teenager
right.
Sarah Stern was reported missing in December of 2016. Stern was ultimately found to have been murdered in 2019, and her murderers were brought to justice. But what happened to Sarah and why? Many news features have covered Sarah's story and explored the murder trial that led to some of the answers her family needed. So this is talking about the 2020 interview, but I'm just going to go into the story. Sarah's disappearance began when an Uber driver saw an Oldsmobile stopped on a bridge connecting Avon by the Sea and Belmar, New Jersey. Avon by the Sea is another town, and Belmar is a town, and I guess there's a bridge that connects them in South Jersey. The Oldsmobile belonged to Sarah's grandmother, and the keys were still inside the car. There were no sign of a driver. Many people initially believed that the case looked like a suicide. One of Sarah's closest friends, Liam McTasney, even told investigators that Sarah had been suicidal in the past. He also told officers that Sarah was having some problems with her father, which could be making her depressed. 2 months after Liam talked to investigators, he was arrested for strangling Sarah. He was not the only one. A man named Preston Taylor was also charged. Both Liam and Preston had shown up to be part of the search party looking for Sarah on that cold December night, knowing well what they'd done. Liam faced charges of first-degree murder, felony murder, robbery, and several other crimes. Preston faced allegations of hindering prosecution, conspiring to disturb human remains, and disturbing human remains. Are you guys interested yet? Because the reason they killed her is absolutely ridiculous. The motive for Sarah's death, it all came down to money. So apparently Liam thought he would receive $100,000 if he robbed Sarah. Liam and Sarah were best friends, like, for their entire lives. I'm pretty sure they either went to prom together or homecoming. Just as friends, she went with these two guys, but Liam was her best friend. They had never had any kind of relationship. They were just super close, like brother and sister. That's what makes this even worse. He had apparently been with Sarah when she discovered that her mother had left her a box of money when she passed away. Liam told Preston that the box contained $100,000. Together, the two conspired to take the money. Knowing that Sarah had cash, Liam went to Sarah's house and strangled her. He left with $9,000. The box had contained less money than he thought, and Sarah had already spent much of that. The thing, too, with the $9,000, I don't know what the mother did with this money before she died, but the money was all ripped up. You had to tape it together. It just wasn't even used. I think by the time he got to, like, the usable portion of the money, it was like $1,000 or less. The truth came to light during a confession in January 2017 when Liam told a friend that Sarah had received a large sum of money. A videotaped confession exists in which Liam tells this friend, and I'm going to be covering this case on my channel, that the amount of money was much less than he expected, and he admitted that he killed Sarah and that he doesn't even think about her anymore. Liam was sentenced to life in prison plus 10 years, and Sarah's body has never been found. She was from Freehold, which is also where Bruce Springsteen is from, and he's like one of my idols and heroes. This was a quick case. It was kind of cut and dry. I mean, there's a lot on the confession tape that I wish I would have went through, but I'm going to do this one, Steve, because the other one's short too, so I figured we could do a break, and then you can cover Victoria.
Okay.
So let me just go through this really, really quick. Yeah, so Leah McCastney told the police that she was suicidal. McCastney's mother's I can't say this last name. McCastney's mother, Megan, heard that Stern may have jumped off the bridge and was worried about her son immediately after, since she hadn't heard from him either. I just started screaming, she said, and the police were asking me if I had seen Liam, and then I broke down again because I thought that Liam was missing too. This is how close he was with Sarah. And they assured me that they had seen Liam in the middle of the night when I directed them to go to Liam's house. 2 months later, the police arrested Liam. We know that. We know that they went out and searched for her for 11 hours on this really, really cold Saturday in December. And I think that really says something too. One of them, I think it was I can't say this guy's name, McCastney, said she's pretty strong. So hopefully we're going to find something today. Like, that's nerve. I think that's all I really have. I have the confession to the friend. He said she only had 10 grand and this money, I don't know if it's burnt. Here it is. Here's what he said to the kid on the video. She only had 10 grand and this money, I don't know if it's burnt or something. It's old money, terrible quality. I don't even think I can put it into the bank. He said he didn't feel any different. He didn't think about her anymore. And the same high school friend, testified to police about the conversation. And he said, he told me he was going to meet up with Sarah. She had found this money. They were going to count it together. He was going to choke her, choke her out, bring her to the bridge, throw her off. And Preston was going to drive the escape vehicle. And they were going to bury the money and leave the keys in the ignition and make it look like she killed herself. That car, that taxi that drove by the bridge, Liam was there dumping Sarah's body and saw the car coming. So while he was having trouble getting her body out of the car, because she wasn't an obese girl or anything, but carrying all that dead weight, she was about my size, probably a little taller, a little thinner. And he said that he was having trouble carrying her. He had I'm trying to get this right in my head because it's not in front of me, so bear with me. Sorry, but it's funny, but it's just the stupidity of these criminals. So he goes and he's trying to drag her out of the house. He couldn't even get her in the car. He had to leave her in the bushes and have the other guy come and help him put her into the car to drive her to the bridge down in South Jersey, right? So I don't know how he thought the other kid was supposed to go back in and get the money. But if you couldn't even get her in the car to drive her to the bridge, how are you going to get her out of the car and over the bridge? So he sees this car coming and decides to duck down, ends up dropping her body. It reminds me of like something from a Mr. Bean movie, unfortunately. And I'm not making fun of the death. I'm just talking about this bumbling idiot.
It does. Mr. Bean commits murder.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Bean hides the body.
Or the Three Stooges, where they're dropping the body and hitting each other with the head with stuff.
It's just unbelievable. Hello, Warrior Princess Dragon Kelchner. So, Steve, if you want to do a break now, and then you can do the last one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break, and then as soon as we're back,
that's shocking and cold. Yes,
we'll get
absolutely.
Into the girl that was killed for being too pretty. And we're back. Looks like a little break there. Be sure and check out that merch that Dezombified has to offer there. There's some amazing stuff that they've got there. I like the pillows and the coffee mugs. Those are my favorite.
Holy crap. Jarvis, I love your avatar. Whoa. That is awesome.
just turn around and devour everybody, and you win the game.
Word. I'm going into that avatar stream. I'll be back.
All right. So get back into it here. Now we're going to talk about a girl who was sliced apart with broken glass and tortured before being killed by her two best friends. Why? What did she do to piss them off? She was too pretty. Now, how about that?
Wow.
Victoria Averina was a 17-year-old girl living in Russia, who everyone called Vika or Vika for short. She came from a good family and was attending college to fulfill her dream of becoming a chef. She was very close to two younger girls, a pair of 16-year-olds named Irina and Lena. So Vika, Irina, and Lena were best friends for quite some time, and even went to high school together prior to Vika graduating a couple years before them and moving on to college. On here, my browser is acting up just a little bit.
Do you need me to take it?
No, I got it. Now her friends, like I said, they were, I think, jealous of her, what was going on with her success, and then she was going on to college. She was realizing her dreams. And sometimes nothing will piss people off. Even your friends like to see you realizing your dreams, and kind of like the position that you're in, Gemma, right now, where you're seeing some success. You've got, you signed a contract,
and I'm seeing a lot of jealousy.
Yeah, you just got a contract for 2 books. You're getting out there. Your channel's almost got 1,000 subscribers. Get ready for the backlash, for the haters. And the way to handle that, I thrive on it. Haterade.
Hey, Layla and Gaz, and Dylan and Lisa.
Hey there. Yeah, hey, you guys. Good to see you with us here again. May not be child friendly, but hopefully Dylan and Lisa are sound asleep. But in
the
July,
green-eyed monster,
Yeah, but in July of that year, they decided, she's too full of herself. We need to do something about this. So they got her to meet them at an abandoned building in the city of, it looks like, Archangelisk. I don't know how to pronounce that. Maybe something lost in the translation there. But the authorities say that Irina and Lena were able to get Vika to come to the building because they didn't tell her the real reason they wanted to see her. So now, if your friends ever invite you to an abandoned building out in the middle of nowhere, that might be a hint.
I used to hang out in abandoned buildings all the time.
I did too, barns and places like that. But, none of us ended up killing each other. Now, shortly before Vika's life was brutally taken from her, she sent a text message to another one of her close friends, begging her to pay for more minutes so she could call her mom. She had one of those top-up phones where you have to buy minutes in advance in order to send text or calls to people. When you run out of money, you're SOL until you load some more onto it. She was unable to place this call to her mother and told her friend that it was some kind of emergency. So I don't know if she kind of knew what was up or knew something was hinky once she got there or what was going on. You want to take over, please? I'm having issues with my browser here.
Yeah, I was typing in the chat. So where did you leave off? I apologize.
Just where they had her at the abandoned building, and she had texted a friend to send her some more minutes because.
Okay, I'm just going to pick up right here. So I probably have something different. I apologize, guys. So it says 2 16-year-old girls are suspected of murdering and torturing their best friend because she was, quote, too attractive. The disfigured body of Victoria Averina, 17, Vika, was found at an abandoned building site after she had been tortured, strangled, and ripped apart with pieces of broken glass. Police believe she was cruelly tortured before she was strangled to death in the Russian city of Archangelisk. Her face had been ripped with pieces of broken glass. Police initially believed a, quote, male maniac, end quote, was behind the brutal killing, but now 2 former school classmates, both 16 years old, have been detained on suspicion of murder charges. The pair, named only by first names Lena and Irina, have allegedly confessed to killing a girl who was seen as their longtime close friend, according to law enforcement. A state investigator said, according to the young girls, the victim thought she was more beautiful than her friends. During the police interrogation, the girls explained that the victim allegedly abused them because of this. They did not like such behavior. Maybe the girl was a little, cocky, maybe a little too confident, or maybe she had a normal amount of confidence, and these other two girls were just, I don't know. From what I see from a picture, she's got all this writing all over her hands. I don't know. This is just crazy. The girl said Vika, who was studying at college to be a chef, was, quote, arrogant because of her bright and attractive face. The investigator said all three girls are from socially normal families. The two suspects had used a fake pretext to persuade Vika to come to a building site where they attacked her. A statement from the Archangel Regional Investigative Committee read, one of the alleged killers held Vika while the other passed her objects with which they hit her. This is what's alleged. They broke a bottle against the head of the victim and cut her face with the smashed glass and then strangled her. They went back home after the murder and expressed horror when her body was discovered. A friend told local media that the three were close, but that Vika's friends were physically bigger than her and behaved like mobsters. She said, Vika was a beautiful girl, but we would never think this was a reason for murder. Reports also said that shortly, guys, I think this is interpreted from Russian, so bear with me if some of these sentences sound a little off. Reports also said that shortly before she was killed, Vika had texted a friend asking her to top up her mobile because she wanted to urgently call her mother and didn't have enough money on her phone. Could this have been that she knew something was coming? The girls had been at school together, but Vika had left to start college as a trainee chef. The two young suspects face up to 15 years if convicted. The United States, I believe, is still the only country that will allow minors to be charged as adults.
Yeah. But I'm wondering with the texting thing, if they tortured her, if they sliced her up and stuff, and then before they actually killed her, if she was conscious and trying to get a hold of her mom.
That's what I think. I think before anything happened, they might have been saying something to her. I mean, I'm not saying this is how Victoria was or Vika was, but there are those girls in high school that do think they're better than everybody and are above everything and are really attractive and know it. So they act either skanky or slutty, or they treat everyone else and put them down. But there's no, first of all, it's still not a reason for murder. You just avoid the person. You don't become best friends with them. And second of all, there's no evidence that she was anything like that. From everything I've read, which wasn't much, to be honest with you, I only have one article in front of me on this, and that's all I could find. But she seemed to be a very nice, very responsible, loved her family, worked hard, got good grades. And these other girls were like it said, they behaved like a mob, or they behaved like mobsters. They were just bad influence girls. And first of all, I'd be embarrassed to say that I killed someone because I thought they were prettier than me. Like, you know how bad that makes you look? Like, you're that insecure. So I just think that's horrible. Yes, are you kidding me? These are the ultimate mean girls.
Absolutely. And the investigator said that all three girls are from socially normal families. There wasn't any skeletons in the closet or anything as far as having a parent.
Nothing.
Yeah. But in the pictures there, I mean, they're all beautiful girls. The one, she did kind of stand out, but I think she learned to do her makeup better than the other two.
That's what I mean. Maybe
the only thing I can see, really. They should have went to her for beauty tips instead of killing her.
Right. Or if you really there were girls like that in my school. I was homely looking and a tomboy for the better part of my high school career, but there were girls that were like that, and some of them were conceited, but even the ones that weren't, I avoided because I was uncomfortable around them. Like, I was still a kid, but I didn't have anything against them. I just preferred not to be in their company. I didn't want them corrupting me with their makeup and push-up bras,
Yeah. And then I remember when I was in high school, there would be somebody that was like that was an ugly duckling type or whatever. And then the others would berate her, you should dress yourself up. You should get your hair done. You should wear, this, that, or the other. And then the person would finally give in and do it. and then they would just unmercifully tease them and make fun of them
That's
for doing it. Like,
exactly what
that looks
happened.
ridiculous. They just, it's like one made a break for the fence. They had to slap them down and put them back in their place.
That's exactly what happened to me. I always wore jeans, oversized t-shirts. I mean, I hardly even brushed my hair. I just didn't care. I was really good at school and I went there to learn. You know what I mean? But eventually I started hanging out with some girls who did put on makeup and did do their hair and did wear, clothes for girls. And once I started doing it and started getting some attention, and then all of a sudden I was a slut and a whore and all of these things. So that's when my issues with female friends started. But again, kids can be so incredibly cruel. I mean, you're born with what you have, and aside from like plastic surgery, you know what I mean? In reality, in a regular, just, middle class household, you're not getting plastic surgery. So you're born with what you have, and it's not your fault if you're born really good looking or not really good looking.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, you always judge on a person's personality. Looks fade.
And high school in particular seems to be really cruel. I remember
so vicious.
We had a girl that was a German exchange student, and at that time in Germany, a lot of women didn't have the same grooming habits that they have here. In other words, she had hairy legs and armpits. Well, that put a target on her, and they berated this girl and teased this girl and made fun of her. I mean, that's natural when you think about it. That's just a secondary sex characteristic. It's no different than a man's beard or anything like that. It just means your body has aged to this point that you can grow hair. But they shamed this girl so bad. Well, she finally, after months of torture, gives in and shaves. Well, you can imagine for somebody that's never shaved their legs, and it was like fine blonde hair anyway. She didn't look like Bigfoot or anything. She shaves, and she like really cut herself up. If you're not used to shaving and you're shaving legs, apparently, for the first time. So she comes in and she's got all these cuts and nicks and band-aids. Well, that just brought more peals of laughter. You look like a peeled potato. Is that what you use? Did you shave with a potato peeler? You're hopeless.
Girls are vicious and horrible for the most part.
This girl is in gym, just reduced to tears day after day after day after day. And I used to feel so bad for her. And I found her later on Facebook. She's went back to Germany, of course. I never messaged her, though, because she probably still associates anybody with that. Because by the time her year in America was over, she was so ready to go back to Germany and be done. And this was, in the hills of East Tennessee, so it was not the best place to get a taste of America anyway. And, I've always hated that. I've always carried that with me, that there was somebody that came here. She was very bright. She was a pretty girl. And they just absolutely ruined.
It's probably because they were jealous of her.
She was very Teutonic, blonde hair, blue-eyed, striking. I mean, she could have been a model, but she was just, she ain't one of us. We got to take care of her, that type of attitude.
Once I did start like wearing makeup and stuff like that, I learned very, very quickly. Like I say all the time, and this is not a conceited statement, believe me, I'm so insecure, that, but I say sometimes, like throughout my life, my looks have taken a lot more than they've given. And I don't like, don't get me wrong. I don't mind compliments, but I really don't like when people put too much focus, either positive or negative, on my looks, because then I start to feel like that's all people are paying attention to. And I want to be known for my work and what I'm doing, not, what I look like. My looks fade.
Consider myself privileged.
I want to know.
I've seen you without your makeup, and I can see the beauty inside you. So
I just want to be known as a good person, a hard worker, a smart person. I mean, all this look stuff. I just don't. It's not. I'm 38 years old too, though. But this is just absolutely vicious. I saved this one for last for a reason. But as I was saying in the chat, I came across at least 5, maybe 6 or 7 of these where they attacked and killed the girl because she was too pretty, or because she thought she was too pretty. I mean, come on. It's the bullies killing the other people.
Yeah.
I mean, if I see someone snap and kill a bully, I'm not saying it's right. But it is a little bit understandable that you pick at somebody and they snap. I mean, that's humanity, right? But especially when you're a teenager and your emotions aren't grown enough yet and you don't know how to handle all that. But to see people that are bullying, and then it's like insult to injury, you know, and I think 15 years, you know, honestly, I don't know about that sentence. I don't really want to say, but thank you, Dezombified. We see you for your talent. I really hope so. But I don't really want to give my opinion on that.
15 years, that just, I don't know, that doesn't
I don't
seem
know,
like
because
a good trade for a life, but yeah, the death
I don't
penalty.
believe in life sentences for kids, but I think that might be a little Dezombified. I understand 100%. Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys get it and you don't think I'm sitting here like talking myself up. I'm just... Oh, thank you, Warrior Princess. Gonna watch more of my videos. Yeah, watch the one I just did on being bullied on YouTube by grown-ass adults.
Yeah, I think you, Warrior Princess Dragon, you said that you just subscribed to Gemma's channel the other day, so she's got some great content on there. And then if you go over to Missing Persons and Mysteries, she writes a lot of the stuff over there. That Missing Farmers video today that is absolutely blowing up. Gemma wrote that. Last time I looked at it, had like about...
I wrote that one? I was wondering why you were telling me that. Hey, Rick Brab.
Yeah, it's last time I looked, it was getting close to 25,000 views, and it came out at like 1:30 this morning Pacific time. And we're just, I don't know, we're knocking them out of the park over there. I did just a little one-off on a lady that had been missing for 5 months and was found alive. She'd been missing by choice, and that one went viral. It had 30,000 views just within a few hours. So the algorithm is being very, very friendly to us over there right now. So go check out Missing Persons and Mysteries. And then, of course, Gemma and I also do the Fireside Chat on Sundays, where we interact with the audience. That's where we get our ideas for future videos and stuff. And then Gemma also joins me on Campfire Stories.
We've got a big one this
Friday
week.
nights. Yeah, this one's going to be great. You don't want to miss this one. No spoilers, but
it's going to be 2 hours.
It's going to be a wild ride, and bring Kleenex.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. We've been talking about it a little bit. Most of you will probably know it, but definitely stop in. It's going to start at 7 as usual, and it's going to go until 9 o'clock because we need to finally get this done for everybody. And I just want to say, are you kidding me? Look up the murder of Rena Verk in BC. A group of girls named the Shoreline Six bullied her and put out a cigarette in her forehead before they beat her to death. I definitely will. Yeah, I'll definitely look that up for sure. Warrior Princess Dragon Couchner, people who bully are insecure and need to pick on others. That's what I was just saying. Like, it's your own or their own insecurities that lead them to do that. I know when I'm jealous of something, I have to, as an adult now, I've learned to stop myself and ask, what is it that's making me feel this way towards this person? Like, what am I jealous of? And I can kind of break those feelings down and try my best to be happy for the person or remove myself from the situation. But I mean, I'm human, I get jealous, but my gosh, to be that jealous of somebody's looks, at such a young age.
Or because of a boy or a girl. That's one that I think you would enjoy reading about. It's look up the Tennessee Job Corps killing. It was in Knoxville several years ago. But Job Corps had a training center there where people basically that had been in trouble for this, that, and the other could go and learn a trade to hopefully so they can have gainful employment and stay out of trouble. So it was a criminal element there anyway. Well, there was a boy there that two different girls were vying for. One of them enlisted her friends, killed her. I think they bashed her skull in with a piece of asphalt. And then they kept a piece of her skull like as a souvenir and used it in some kind of apparent satanic ritual as a spell to tie this boy to her forever. But it was so messed up. But look up the Tennessee Job Corps killings.
I've got it right in front of me. Wow.
That would be an interesting case. And I actually sat in on the trial of some of those people.
Wow. Yep. I'm going to look that up. I'll probably cover some of these. I've been doing, if you haven't noticed, shorter videos on like the paranormal, but I am going to still be doing the long deep dives into true crime. Tomorrow I'm releasing the reboot of Kayla Berg, which was the third most viewed video out of all the videos on my channel, but I still redid it. And the reason is, like I told you guys, I didn't have any equipment. I was awkward and uncomfortable even more than I already am. And it just, for my own peace of mind, I wanted to redo those videos. So if you guys can just watch them again, I've made them either shorter or longer, depending on information. They're not as bumbly and, they're pretty much on point. So I'm hoping that's received well. And then I have Almost Vanished coming out, I believe, on Monday. I may release it on Saturday, depending how much work I have done. And it's Almost Vanished and kids. It's about kids. This one specifically is about kids, but I have other stories too, who vanished and disappeared for whether it be a few hours or even months or years, and came back with an unbelievable story of where they were and what had happened to them. And you guys are going to want to check that out. That's going to be either Saturday or Monday. My patrons, I think, already have that one. I released it today.
I do. Yeah, I saw that one come across.
And I'm doing the Alien Hybrid program next week. I just finished the script for that. So that's everything I have coming up. Please do not forget Campfire Tales tomorrow from 7 to 9 on Missing Persons and Mysteries with me and Steve. I really need you guys to come out and support us and support this guest. It would mean the absolute world to me. I'm personally invested in our guest and what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So I love you guys. Dezombified, thank you so much for having us. Sorry we were late, but I'm glad we got to go. Episode 10, and I think we already know what that's going to be, but you guys are going to have to wait until next week. Good night, guys. Be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. Be decent. Kindness doesn't cost anything. It can make you feel better than the person you're being kind to sometimes. I love you guys. Good night.
Gemma, thank you so much for doing this and for all that you do. We've got so many irons in the fire together. We've got a lot going on with the video and the documentaries and things that we've got planned now. Watch out. There's big stuff coming. Again, I will apologize for making us late tonight. Try to be better with my scheduling, but I'm right in the middle of promotion for this book. It's already at #1, trying to keep it up there. So far, like last time I checked, it had 6 5-star reviews, so it's doing good. Thanks everybody that's bought it. If you're interested, check it out. You can find it on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold, as my publisher likes for me to say. But again, thanks to Dezombified for giving us a platform. We just like to put on a show. We love to come here and talk to you guys. And I'm going to say to Dezombified, at some point in the future, we've started doing live video on all our shows now. If you want us to come and show up in the flesh, we'll do that too. So let us know. Our shows, we're going live on camera. So I think that's it for Wednesday, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Let's go eat some tacos. Mulder and I are celebrating his Mexican heritage, so I made tacos.
I've had a corned beef, potatoes, and carrots in the crock pot for 12 hours now.
There you go.
Good night, everybody. Love you. Mwah.
Thanks, everybody. Much love to all. Be good to yourselves and each other. And remember, like she said, be nice. Say something kind. It doesn't cost you a thing. Have a good night, everybody. On behalf of Jim and myself, this is Steve Stockton, and we'll see you next time.
Ooh.